tonally, it didn't make sense to me.
It didn't make sense. And what a shame. It could have been interesting.
It could have been way more interesting.
Well, I see, this is my fear, that when Hindi cinema does good work and not enough people see it, you're just going to end up with the same retreads again and again. And it's such a shame.
Hello everyone and welcome back to The Late Take, where we talk about the weekend releases across languages in Indian cinema. My name's Anmol Jamwal.
I'm Anupama Chopra, and it was a good week for Hindi cinema.
Refreshingly, and our cautious optimism worked this time.
It
so,
did.
Yes.
It did. I want to start with an action hero. Anmol, I went in like a day or two later because I was traveling yet again. And you know, I didn't know what to expect. I had seen maybe like one promo, and I'm excited at the idea of Ayushmann Khurrana and Jaideep Ahlawat together in anything. But this was such fun.
I've had so much fun. Even with the, say, 10-15 people that were at the theatre, it was a laugh riot.
Yeah.
And I thought it was self-aware. I thought it was written really cleverly. And
all the meta Bollywood commentary.
It was beautiful to see, at least, you know, that it's not just a carefree comedy. It was, there was attention to detail with respect to it being relevant as well. And I thought the writing was really on point. And I just couldn't, I just absolutely loved Jaideep Ahlawat in a full feature film. And really, I think it was again Patal Lok Haryanvi element, and he's so good at it.
He's so good.
And you know, I definitely think what I feared was that it would get preachy with its context of what it wants to say, but it was just entertaining throughout. So despite, say, the situation of taking the leap of faith in the conclusion, because you can talk about several pragmatic loopholes that might exist in its climax, I had an absolute ball.
Me too. And you know, Anmol, I saw it on a Saturday evening, so there were more people there. It was like at least half full, and everyone was having such a good time. People were genuinely laughing, and I think what Anirudh Iyer has done is like made it cheeky, but still also, in a way, there is a slightly serious subtext about what has happened with Bollywood. That whole running joke about all the newscasters, and of course the Arnab, wannabe or imitation.
Manic state.
Yeah. It was so funny, and I think the way Ayushmann played it, where he played the narcissism of this character beautifully. You know, and what Jaideep did was like kind of counter that with just the beefiness and the kind of he was so chilling in his matter of fact way.
How people are versus the ivory towers that you stay in.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
What I loved was that the introduction shot of Ayushmann was him doing a plank.
Yeah.
While he's arrested also, he's considering about body image and how he's looking.
Six-pack has to be in place.
Yeah. And you know, there are moments, especially while he was shooting that sequence in Haryana, where some of his demands are not being met, or he's being questioned, and he just gives a death stare to, say, the secretary or the subordinate. It's like, it's so fitting of like, you know, this aura that he's created around himself. But ma'am, I have to say a huge shout out to that police officer.
He was fantastic.
He was hilarious. And that exchange with the journalist and the DOP, I couldn't stop laughing. I had so much fun after a long time.
After a long time. That conversation with the DOP, कि तुम करते क्या हो?
अनाज वो करते हो.
Yeah. How do you contribute to society? And he's like, I'm director of photography. Was just fantastic. And you know, just the whole idea of also the way the underworld and the Hindi film industry has connected in the past. The Dawood figure who says कि मेरी parties में अभी भी film star नाचते हैं. I loved it.
It was all an ego tussle by the end of it.
Absolutely.
Him being butthurt about the fact that he said no to a gangster film because they're irrelevant now. It's so hilarious that the guy's like, ab tu naach. And that's his motive. And I felt like a lot of it was just ego tussles, but what really hit home for me, ma'am, was sort of the fickle nature with which everyone just forgets about what they said.
They turned on him.
From one day being the boycott campaign being absolutely rampant and hate fueled, and then suddenly him becoming a martyr, and everybody acts as if that didn't happen. It was crazy to see because it did happen. I've seen it. We've seen it multiple times in the last 2 years of how it's transpired. I thought it was so well done.
And you know what he does with the sort of that commentary on the celebrity circus, that finally it means nothing. The public will turn on you in 1 second and then turn back, like you just said, and pretend ki wo to tha hi nahi.
Yeah.
You know, with the press kind of turning the screw at every turn, you know, egging on this kind of actually whipping up a sort of public lynching.
It's crazy, ma'am, on how like perception is set in stone one day and how easily it can turn, and it can all be manipulated.
Yeah. That's the scary part.
That's the scary part. And I think they really hit that home. And I thought, I have to say, like, I loved Malaika's integration into the screenplay. I loved him like so disgruntled and dancing. And Jaideep's expression, like,
that expression.
Oh.
Anmol, that was my favorite moment of Jaideep in the film. He's like, he's just doing this. He's holding his head and he's like, what the hell? You know, in the middle of all this murder and mayhem, you're doing an item number. It was fab.
The moments are too good.
Yeah.
Even the Dawn asking like, "Aapki tareef," is like, "Main khud ki bhi nahi karta." And you're like, even the small moments, it's so well done.
Yeah.
And knowing that, you know, there are few takers for it, I think both of us would.
Why are there few takers for it? I'm not getting this. We've got a solid original Hindi film. Why aren't people seeing it?
I'm a loss for words of exactly what is needed, because this is what people have been craving for. Yeah. That's what everyone's talking about on social media, that Hindi cinema needs to do some original content, and when it comes, the little takers, the Drishyam has done probably double the business in the same day. So,
and you know, good for Drishyam.
Yeah, great.
You know, that film holds together nicely, but I'm just saying, why would people not even give this one a shot? Because it didn't even open. Yeah,
it didn't even open, and there's a lot of positive word of mouth.
Yeah.
So I think both of us would just recommend it.
Please
that if you haven't,
everyone,
it is a good time. Yeah.
It is a good time. Yeah. And honestly, my sense is that it'll travel really well on streaming. You know, all the people who can't be bothered right now to go to theatres, but the tragedy of that is then where they'll put the money for the next one will be one more remake, you know.
Oh, that makes me like scared for like Ayushmann, because he has such a distinct taste in what he wants to say yes to, and I hope that doesn't sort of like reach a stage of skepticism where he's like, okay, this is what I have to do now.
Correct. No, he's done well. This is a fun film. Please watch.
Yes, for sure.
What you did watch at home was Freddy. You know, we just got the charts of the most viewed on streaming, and it's #1 with some 6 million views. But what was going on in that film?
Okay, I'll first start off with that I do commend Kartik's sincerity with the role.
Absolutely.
And I think in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't assume that Kartik's going to say yes to a Parsi character in Bombay and do a fairly good job. And I think he did. And
he did. And Anmol, he's clearly stepped out of his comfort zone.
So
because
much.
This is not even dhamaka. This is like
next
something
level.
else. This is next level. Yeah.
Physically also.
Yeah, you could tell the body language, the stooping shoulders. He had changed everything.
Yeah, and I did appreciate his effort. The screenplay absolutely like confused me on what it wanted to be. Are you going to be a bloody slasher thriller, or are you doing a dark comedy? And by the end of it, I felt it was neither. And it was unintentionally funny. People are trying to say that it was self-aware with its tonality. I don't think it was at all.
Yeah.
And for me, the most uncomfortable element was to see the shift that they tried. Again, spoiler alerts, it is the late take, is Alaya, when introduced to Freddy's life, is in her salwar kameez and her dupatta. And the moment the twist happens, the red velvet shorts come out, the spaghetti comes out, and you're like, how can this be? There's no nuance in it.
No.
And to argue that Raymond's performance was intimidating and something that really sent shivers down my spine, I am sorry, in every scene that he featured in, I laughed out loud.
Me too. Anmol, I was embarrassed for the poor actor. Because what did they make him do? You know,
and how did they not stop it?
Yeah. how did they not stop it? And Shashank Ghosh is a really smart and very inventive artist.
He made Quick Gun Murgan.
Yeah, exactly. He's the OG.
Yeah.
Okay, he's he's done amazing work for decades. So I want to believe that this was self-aware, but I can't. It was too ridiculous.
If the case of him stepping inside that restaurant with that Faluda and him spitting in it and then making out with her, sort of like a situation of making him aware that this is my girl, you're never gonna have her, and his case only being I want an apology, that didn't even spark a sense of like worry in me because it was so hilarious. It was staged so poorly. Its performance was pitched at this dramatic Dikra level, which just
poor Parsis.
Oh God,
we need to do better by them. Oh my God,
the pronunciation. I feel like Dhansak was brought up probably 5 times whenever food was there, and Dikra was just inundated throughout this. I can't, and even, you're introducing a case of domestic violence and you introduce it with a guy who has this odd Russian accent, who's almost like waving in the air while beating up his wife. It doesn't rile up that emotion within me of even having slight empathy for a guy who's stalking a girl, who's I don't even...
No, but Anmol, I'm saying let's talk about Freddy.
Yes,
because when you say ki this guy's stalking the girl, so yes, they establish he's an introvert, he lives in this amazing house with just that turtle for company, God knows how long he's been there. Then we get that 1 3-second flashback to explain why he's the way he is, which was insane. But after that, even before he flips, he's parking underneath this woman's, and she's just his patient, and he's parking underneath her window and stalking her. This is why, because he's an introvert. That can't be.
So you see, the intention behind coming outside that house is still to stalk.
Exactly.
It's a byproduct. It's
that she's being abused,
so you become the savior.
Correct.
But for me was that origin story, for you to be Freddy is an origin story, but you barely focus on why Freddy turned out the way he did.
Correct.
Is he a sociopath? Is he just an introvert turned wild? It's barely focused upon, and now they're like, they're going to be part 2 and part 3 about it. But when you start an origin story, your main focus should be the protagonist. And I felt like while Kartik is sincere, Freddy was just doing his thing, and to assume that he's doing the right thing just because Alaya used him.
No.
And
no, he was creepy and off to begin with. So it wasn't definitely that he's just an introvert. He had all the bearings of being a sociopath from the beginning.
And they try to flip it when he's staring at a girl's breasts. But when he sees Alaya, at one point he covers it.
Yes.
Now, because he's in love, he's a changed man.
So it's okay.
I don't understand what the... I'm so confused because I revisited Being Cyrus. Again, Parsi family, slasher thriller, psychological thriller, inventive humor. I thought it did it way better in terms of what the ultimate goal of Cyrus was versus Freddy. It was less of a psychological take of a character turned crazy because of society dealing with him in a particular way and turned into a revenge drama. Yeah. By the end of it, all the Home Alone things that were happening were just funny. Yeah. From the face wash to her in an emergency situation also running in heels, full 6-block heels by the way. So it is tonally, it didn't make sense to me.
It didn't make sense, and what a shame. It could have been interesting.
It could have been way more interesting.
Yeah.
And I felt like, what was the thing that my biggest gripe with it was that I don't know who Freddy is.
Yeah.
And that should be the purpose of a solo film titled Freddy. And I thought that they could at least take the creative route. I thought they were pulling out a Joker. That he never interacted with Alaya or kissed her or nothing happened. It was all in his head, and that led to whatever.
Correct.
But it wasn't even that.
No, it was literal. And poor Raymond finally ended up. Should we reveal how Raymond ended up?
No, but Raymond, I can't.
And they call him Protein Shake, folks, which just killed me.
That was the funniest scene.
That was the funniest. I have fallen down laughing.
But Raymond is again. I don't understand it on how the director sees it, and it's like he comes across as an intimidating antagonist
Not
for
at
Freddy.
all.
How?
And why is he always nuzzling her neck?
Because it was an aphrodisiac, no? The turtle soup. So he ate it and he was just constantly horny after that. So,
Thankfully, Anmol, we also had Qala.
Oh.
The beauteous, superb Qala.
I absolutely. You start first.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I just thought that, I find Anvita Dutt such an interesting creator. She's, because what she's doing is not just creating, she's of course got a really, really amazing aesthetic sense, right? Like her frames are so beautiful, the lighting, the jewelry, what the women are wearing. But she always transposes that with something horrifying. What she did in Bulbul, what happens to Tripti Dimri's character in Bulbul is just horrific.
Yes.
And still that, so I always feel like the beauty and the horror are constantly enhancing each other in a way. And I think this is a much better film in terms of how it pulls everything together. And it was really, really, for me, moving. I thought Tripti was lovely. She's done such a fine job, as was Swastika, as was Babil. They were all lovely, and the music is
the music, ma'am. It's been on loop for me ever since it released.
On a loop, yeah.
And for me, in the movie's narrative, it's after a long time I got goosebumps when Nirbhav Nirbhay plays, when Babil's character is introduced.
Yeah.
The vocals
are incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I think the most overused term with cinematography is that every frame was a painting. It was a painting. It was visually stunning. It actually made me sad that I couldn't see it on the big screen because it is such a film. And Tripti has this inherent sadness that she brings to these roles, and she did it with Laila Majnu and Bulbul, and I feel like she with Qala especially, I really resonated with her performance. Not because of just, say, the journey Qala had from a professional standpoint, but the aching sort of void she had with her mother. And that toxic relationship really hit home for me. There's a slight sort of like inconsequential moment of when the senior singer sees her at the party and she asks, "Aap mujhe dekh sakte ho?" It's almost as if
she's invisible.
All she wants is to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
And many of those sequences where she just needs a sense of comfort and love from the mother. Even her call when they're in front of the mirror and says, "Hum ghar chale." It's so beautifully done, and Swastika,
and heartbreaking.
Swastika really gets that, sense.
She's a tremendous actor.
Being drawn towards Babil in shock only to stop her from singing and then for him to carry on. It really hits home. And I feel like I was seeing that it's eventually going to be that particular climax of what Qala did. I could see it happening.
Right, you knew that is obviously where it was going. Because the scene they plant before where she says, "Don't put, I don't want to give everything away, but don't put mercury into his mouth." So you know where this is going. I mean, it's that whole thing of, you've seen a gun in the first scene, it has to be fired in the third. But I just think that what she did is not just tell this story about mother and daughter, but also layer in, the issue of mental health and how women so often just get gaslit because nobody believes कि अच्छा औरतों में तो होता ही है, or the whole way sort of the film industry treats women, or what is the price you're willing to pay to be a great artist. And finally Swastika is willing to do anything for great art, including sacrificing her relationship with her own daughter. So it's just, there's so much layering. And then of course I loved Varun Grover as Majru. He was just so
his dialogue really
hit home.
The
Me Too, Daur Badlega, and they're talking about Me Too in a film that's about the 1940s. And I just feel like she's such a textured writer because she's constantly layering in. It's not just the one thing that you're seeing. And I wish more people would find this film.
Yes, because ma'am, I also think getting that particular point across in commercial writing is still like sermons and speeches, and which definitely doesn't resonate with me. But this is the textured layering in the screenplay that really gets the point across.
Yeah.
And I hope
more people please see Qala as well. I see, this is my fear, that when Hindi cinema does good work and not enough people see it, you're just going to end up with the same retreads again and again, and it's such a shame. But guys, this is on Netflix. Please watch. Should we take comments?
Yeah.
It's for you, Anmol.
Okay, so this is Ashwin Srinivasan for Action Heroes. He said, this is genuinely a very good entertainer with no unnecessary romantic angle or emotional one. Sticks to the narrative and has a consistent tonality. It's a kind of parody on the Hindi masala movies with the superstars, fans, media being represented in same way. Apt performances, brilliant dialogues, and very good action scenes. Love the quirky tone. I think, what people noticed was its meta treatment of the brawl that both of them have in that Don's apartment. It's almost mimicking a masala action film.
Right.
So everyone's flying around, everything's breaking. It was such a good thing.
And I also have to say, loved Akshay Kumar's cameo.
Oh, he was so brilliant.
He was so good.
I loved his expression where he's like, "Bolna mat hum mile the," and you're just like, it's too good. Loved
and
it.
that he steals his shades
Yes.
to go out and talk to the press, because how else does a superstar talk to the press?
And the best was, sir, सुना है आपका नया relationship हुआ है? अच्छा चल बात करते हैं.
You know, Akshay has a great talent for cameos.
Cameos and that
He's superb.
comic timing.
His comic timing is superb. I'm telling you, he should just go back to that.
Comedy will be,
If the preachiness is done,
he needs to visit the comedy genre for sure.
Totally.
For sure.
Okay, I've got Indira Jha on Qala. This movie made me think what she could have done differently to not end up with mental health issues. The movie is one of the few Bollywood movies that shows the lifelong impacts of bad parenting. People become adults, but the scars unfortunately remain raw, oblivious to the world, as bad parenting is a crime. I would agree. As a parent, I have to say it's tough. Which doesn't justify what Swastika was doing at all.
The case of the phone call just broke me.
Yeah, it was awful. That was so,
calling for
so
help.
sad. You're just calling for help and no one's out there helping you. I agree.
And what really broke me was the consecutive nature with which she says, sorry mama. She's constantly apologetic about everything that she does.
Everything, she's just apologizing. And Swastika is just not listening to that at all. Really lovely.
Yeah.
Now we have one for you on Freddy.
Jay Costa, he says, the ending was very disappointing. Not to sound like a psychopath, but simply pulling teeth out and burying them was sort of meh. I think the story could have been much better though. You get perfect on the brink psycho vibes from Kartik Aaryan's role, and in moments reminded me of Joker and how his character was pushed more due to how the society treated a person like that. The first half also played into the role of the society in the making of a psychopath, but immediately quit to make it a revenge drama. Yeah. I think that's what we were talking about. It's not sure about what it wants to be, and that was the most frustrating part.
But Anmol, again I ask that yes, society contributes immensely into the making of a psychopath, but this guy was already pretty creepy. And it's not a case of the Joker who is unemployed, is literally a joker in a low paying job. This man is an educated, apparently successful
dentist. So the parallels only exist if you really go home with that same picturization of the character. It wasn't the case. So,
and didn't you, Anmol, feel sorry for the state for the Indian woman who has to choose between Freddy, Raymond and Rustam?
Those
were the three men in her life.
And I couldn't believe the dialogue. Mera restaurant, mere paas wapas aa.
Did she marry him for the restaurant?
That was the goal, that if he dies, she'll get the restaurant. And I was like...
So she endured physical abuse for 2 years to get the restaurant?
So that she can trap Freddy, so that he does the killing for her and inherits the restaurant. That was the ultimate goal.
That is long vision.
But Lizard tha, to Zomato mein viral ho gaya. Those dialogues are hilarious. How can it not be hilarious? I am blown away by how people are like, what?
Well, we have more to look forward to. We have, Anmol, there's Salaam Venky, there's Cirkus, there's Vad, there's Blur on Z5 with Taapsee. My God, it's like so many movies. And there's James Cameron return.
Oh yes, yes.
The
Avatar.
Way of Water.
Yes. It's been a long time coming for Avatar, so I'm very excited, of course. But I've been like, it's been so long. I've been just waiting and waiting. But
It has been
what do you
long.
think about the circus trailer? Loved it,
You know-
right? Okay, thank you guys. We'll tune in next time.
You just get me into trouble. Okay? Look,
No,
it's bright.
Yes, very bright.
It's very bright. It's hyper. There's a lot going on. Look, the truth is, I believe that Rohit and Ranveer together can create amazing entertainment, because Simba, I was thoroughly entertained despite all the issues in that film, in terms of what it was doing for
I
women.
like the cop universe.
And saying, I like the copy.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Singham and Simba.
Yeah.
I like park all my apprehensions about
Yeah.
the politics of it, and I'm just like, I ride.
Blows things up. Let's
No,
go.
Let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go. It is a bit too frantic for my taste, but in Ranveer and Rohit we trust and we hope cautiously.
Always. Yes.
What did you think? You just did that.
Okay, see you guys. No, I'm excited. I'm all for great commercial pot boilers.
Masala.
But
Let's
the
go have
comedy is
fun.
a bit like, how
Yeah.
many characters will have how many punchlines in one scene? That might get a little crazy.
Can I admit that the Susu se tsunami to nahi aati line did make me laugh?
It was self-respect for me. That worked for me. This is called self-respect.
So there,
Yes.
we both laughed.
Yes.
And we hope you will too. Thank you so much for watching.
And that was the late take, guys. Please do write down your comments on the releases that happened, Action Hero, Qala and Freddy. And do let us know whether you have other recommendations as well. Thank you for watching and do subscribe.